Tax. I'm Zaka Jacob. We're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime studio. Tonight, 3 innocent students have died in the basement of a Delhi coaching center. These were people who came from different parts of the country. They came to Delhi, the national capital, to study and to crack the IAS exam. But they drowned to their death, not because there was a river nearby or they couldn't swim in an ocean nearby. Tanya Soni, Shreya Yadav and Nevin Dolwin died because the city where they came to study and crack the IAS exam and realize their dreams could not clean its drains in time. And now the shameful part, something that Delhiites have grown accustomed to, almost numb to, for the better part of the last 10 years. This absolutely shameless blame game, political blame game, that goes on between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. It's a common feature. Like I said, Delhiites have become accustomed to this. They've grown numb to this. A constant feature between Chief Minister and LG, between AAP and BJP. Ultimately, no one is held accountable. No one says, yes, I take responsibility for what happened. And no one is taking responsibility for the death of these 3 young students. How can people who play politics, and there's no better term to describe them than political vultures, how can they still trade these dirty little political games, and that too over the dead bodies of these 3 young students? It is time to fix some accountability in Delhi. Delhi and Delhiites deserve better, and the starting point has to be to fix who is responsible for the deaths of Shreya, Tanya and Nevin.
बहुत दुख से मुझे कहना पड़ता है कि दिल्ली सरकार की लापरवाही, यहाँ तक कि आपराधिक लापरवाही के कारण इन बच्चों ने अपनी जान गंवा दी।
एलजी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की केंद्र सरकार ब्यूरोक्रेसी का इस्तेमाल कर रही है।
राजेंद्र नगर के केस में जैसे मैंने बताया कि जो स्टॉर्म वाटर ड्रेन है अलॉन्ग साइड द रोड, वो कम्प्लीटली कवर्ड थी। और ये समस्या एक्चुअली दिल्ली में कई जगह है।
किन अधिकारियों की नाकामी की वजह से आज इस तरीके का लापरवाही रखी गई, उन अधिकारियों ने क्यों नहीं एक्शन लिया, और कमिश्नर उस पर खुद एक्शन ले रहे हैं और एक हाई लेवल मीटिंग इस पर बुलाई गई है जिस पर बहुत जल्दी एक्शन लिया जाएगा।
So the question remains, was the MCD caught napping? It was their job to clean those stormwater drains before the monsoon set in. Are they now scrambling for a defense after the unfortunate death of these 3 students? On the issue of desilting, the MCD claims it was completed. It was done by the end of June. Today, a probe has been ordered to check if there was damage to the pipelines and whether that led to the sudden waterlogging. You heard from the MCD commissioner saying that the stormwater drain outside this IAS coaching center was completely clogged. So it was finished by the end of June. How is it completely clogged? And that too within a month's time. The MCD says there will be an inspection to check if there were violations at all buildings which have heavy footfalls. Now, why were they waiting for the unfortunate death of 3 students, 3 young IAS aspirants, to order this inquiry? There is now a bulldozer drive, a sealing drive, an anti-encroachment drive, 13 centers just in the last couple of days since these deaths came to light. 13 centers have been found in violation just in that one locality of Old Rajinder Nagar. The MCD has admitted that building bylaws were violated and that there was inaction on their part. The question is, why are they not taking any action? Why is the Delhi police not arresting a single MCD official? Some suspension has been done against 2 junior engineers. Junior engineers don't give sanctions to violate building bylaws. The defense of the MCD is that it's not possible to visit each and every building, even though that is the law. The law is that unless you get a clearance from the Municipal Corporation, whether it's in Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai or Bangalore, wherever it is, you have to get a clearance from the city corporation. And that, the civic body they claim, the MCD, is short-staffed. Now the question also remains, there were repeated red flags. Through the course of this program, I'll play you an excerpt of an interview that I did with one of the students there. He had repeatedly flagged this, written multiple letters to the MCD to no avail. The question is, there were these repeated red flags that were raised. CNN News 18 has accessed details of letters between top officials which show that these concerns were simply not addressed. On the 3rd of July 2024, there is a letter of the Principal Secretary of the Lieutenant Governor's Office writing to the Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs. And he says there is a lackadaisical approach of the Delhi government as far as monsoon preparation is concerned. The last meeting of the Apex Committee, which was held by the Chief Minister, was back in 2022. Of course, the Chief Minister has been in jail since March of this year. No Apex Committee meeting throughout 2023, and remember, parts of Delhi were flooded last year. On the 28th of June 2024, that is just last month, there was a department order from the Principal Secretary of the LG to the Delhi Chief Secretary. And in that letter, it is said that the Delhi government was intimated about the lack of preparedness to tackle excess rainfall. No flood control order was issued by the Delhi government as of 28th of June. Delhi government, for its part, has put out a video of Saurabh Bharadwaj, one of the ministers of the AAP government, holding a meeting on that day, and none of the officials turning up, or at least the officials who turned up did not have satisfactory explanations as to why desilting of stormwater drains was not happening. The power department had not ensured that DISCOMs prevented the exposure of naked wires. Also, sources through the LG office claim that the Delhi government sat on a proposal to create a unified agency for drain desilting. On the 21st of August last year, there was a proposal from the Chief Secretary to Flood Control Minister Saurabh Bharadwaj. February 2024, this year, Saurabh Bharadwaj reportedly sat on the file for 5 months, sent it back to the Principal Secretary. In April, the file was sent back to the minister concerned. No action has been taken since then. So, I have a very simple contention tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The local area councillor is from the Aam Aadmi Party. The MLA is from the Aam Aadmi Party. The state government and the Municipal Corporation are both controlled by the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party says the LG does not allow our ministers to function. The bureaucrats don't listen to our ministers. It's the LG who's taking all the calls and calling all the shots. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, Delhiites are sick and tired of this political football that's been going on. It's time for some answers. It's time to fix some accountability, and it has to happen now. It has to happen now because there are 3 dead bodies that are being laid to rest even as we speak, of 3 young people who came to this national capital to build on their dreams, to realize their aspirations. And today they have died drowning in civic apathy. They have died drowning in this political football. Joining us now on the talking point this evening, Shazia Ilmi, spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Shubh Malhotra is spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Dr. M. Ramachandran is former IAS officer, secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development. And Suhail Seth, columnist, author, and a very angry Delhiite, joining us tonight. I'll also be speaking to one of the students who had repeatedly written letters to the MCD, none of which was acted upon. But let me start with you, Shubh Malhotra, first. Local councillor is a lady named Aarti Chawla, the councillor of this area, Old Rajinder Nagar. She comes from an influential business family in this area. Since this tragedy happened on Saturday, for the last 3 days, the local councillor has been missing in action. She has not shown up at this Rouse coaching centre or where the students have been protesting for the last 3 days in rain. The local MLA is a gentleman by name Durgesh Pathak. He's given some bites today, some tic tacs to some TV channels, and he's also gone incognito. The Delhi mayor is Shelley Oberoi, again from the Aam Aadmi Party, has not visited that place. You control the state government, you control the MCD. Why should average Delhiites, the voters of Delhi, the people who voted for you including, Why should they not ask you a basic question tonight, ma'am? What are you doing? Why don't you accept responsibility? Why don't you quit? If you can't do a job of protecting the residents of Delhi, that 3 people have to drown to their death, then shame on you, ma'am. Shame on the MCD. Shame on the state government. Please quit.
I understand your sentiments that you're trying to express over here, and frankly, I would also like to say that this incident is very painful and extremely, extremely unfortunate. But at the same time, I take offense to the fact that you refer to the very important disclosures by the local councillor, by the visits from our mayor on the spot, and by the area MLA as tic-tacs and small bites, because this is
Where is
something
the
extremely
councillor? The
dismissive of
councillor
the
is
very
not
important
been
thing.
seen in
Let
public.
me just finish.
Where is the councillor? The councillor is
Let me
not,
just
is
finish.
missing. She's not even there. She's not come
No,
to
let me
this
just-
place.
No, but you are dismissing whatever they are doing as tic-tacs and
What?
bites.
No,
but
no,
that
she's
is
not even done
true.
that.
Yeah, so
If
let
she
me
came
just
and gave
complete.
tic-tacs, that
Why
would
don't
be-
I tell you?
that would be
Why
fine.
don't I tell you?
She's missing. She's
see,
not even
you were
there. Where is
talking
she?
about- Sure, you were talking about accepting responsibility.
Yes.
Right. Now, when we are talking about accepting responsibility, and when you are saying that the MCD of Delhi is entirely under the Delhi government, I would beg to differ. Because the MCD of Delhi actually has an MCD commissioner as well, who has recently been appointed. There are chief secretaries in each department by the central government, who has recently been appointed by their central government. The chief secretaries in every department.
The MCD
now, I tell
elections
you,
happened. One second, madam, please. 1 second, please.
Yeah,
please.
sure.
The MCD elections happened about a year and a half ago. Which party secured majority in the MCD council, the house, the MCD house? Was it
Aam Aadmi
BJP?
Party,
Was it
but
Congress?
let me
Aam
ask
Aadmi Party.
you,
Aam Aadmi Party.
3
So
years earlier
Aam
this
Aadmi
incident
Party
would not
has
have
Aam Aadmi
happened.
Party has majority, right? In
3
the
years earlier,
MCD.
this incident would not
you
have
run
happened.
you run the MCD, right? People of Delhi
Yeah,
have
so let me
voted
just
for
tell
you to run the MCD,
yeah,
right?
Not only do we
So
run
then
the
please
MCD,
tell me
Yeah, sure.
why is
Sure.
the local councillor there not even showing the basic respect, the basic courtesy to come there? It's happened in her ward. It has happened in her area.
I
Why
beg
has she
to
not even
differ on this
shown up?
count. I beg to differ on this count, because when the central government's LG's chief secretary does not bother to show up in the meetings where important issues well before time on 17th February, 20th of May,
People have
meetings were being
died in
called
her
to ensure
ward, in her
decency.
constituency, in her area. She doesn't
Why?
show up. That is fine, you're
Why?
saying?
Why did they die? It is absolutely not fine. I started out by saying that it's a most painful incident, and this cruelty has been brought on to the people of Delhi because the laxity of the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the BJP-led this Chief Secretary of Delhi.
People of Delhi
These are the-
did not vote for the Lieutenant Governor. People of Delhi did not vote for the Chief Secretary.
Exactly.
They voted for you.
Exactly.
They're asking
Had
you
they-
questions, ma'am.
Yeah, of course, and we have the answers. So I will start.
What are
out
the
by
answers?
saying
Tell me
that
why did Nevin, why did Tanya, why did Shreya die? What is the answer to this question?
Exactly, and I'm just coming to that. The answer to this question is the apathy of the chief secretaries of the departments responsible for carrying out the water, the removal of the waterlogging and the desilting of the drains.
Okay.
And it has been found that they have falsified documents. They have presented evidence to the minister.
Should do the
They have
desilting.
presented.
Okay, Shazia Elmi, please
no,
respond.
Shame on you,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
You have to
Ma'am, shame on
understand.
you. No, I'm
Why are you
absolutely,
making this personal?
Let
Is this
Shazia
the
respond.
last
Let
thing
Shazia
that you
respond,
can say?
yeah.
No, you interrupted
No,
me.
I
No,
didn't interrupt you. You
when
have
I
given an
interrupted me
answer.
multiple
People
times,
are
but you
watching
did
this
not allow
program.
me to say.
Let them make up their mind. Now I need to go to the other political party representative, Shazia Elmi. Chief Secretary of Delhi should have gone and cleaned out the
if
drains.
she has to present
He
facts,
is responsible.
She can present facts, but
Yeah,
she
let
cannot
her
say shame
let her
on you.
speak. No, why are
Yeah,
you
she
speaking
can
over her?
let
Your
her
name is not
present facts.
Shazia. No,
Why
I'm
is she
asking
dramatizing?
Shazia.
So-
Let Shazia respond. Thank you.
So this is what Shubh and her party want to go and tell the parents of Tanya, Shreya and Navin. This is what you're going to say, that because LG is in charge and because Chief Secretary is in charge and because the MCD Commissioner is in charge, and this is not the responsibility of the elected government, this is not the responsibility of the councillor, ward number 141, Aarti Chawla. It is not the responsibility of the Aam Aadmi Party MLA Durgesh Pathak. It is not the responsibility of the mayor, Shelly Oberoi. This is why 3 of you or your families have lost these children.
This is what you're going to say. This is the best you can come up with. The fact of the matter is that you have been caught once again and you have nothing else to do but play the blame game. Shame on you, ma'am, and shame on your party that for everything, whenever something happens which is tragic and sad, for which you should take responsibility. Because there is accountability. There are departments to this effect. This is why MCD elections happen. This is why councillors are chosen. This is the purpose and the job profile of a Parshad and of an MLA. And because the responsibilities are fixed and because there's a clear manual, please do not keep on playing upon this LG. All three LGs, whether it's Najib Jung, whether it's Anil Baijal, whether it's the current LG, Mr. Saxena, everybody is to be blamed, but never Aam Aadmi Party. Will you go and tell the parents of Tanya, Shreya and Navin that, you know, what can we do? Our Chief Minister is in jail, our Deputy CM is in jail, other ministers are in jail or are going to jail. And you know, Atishi, our minister, was writing letters to the MCD commissioner. Shelly Oberoi was writing letters to LG. We were busy writing letters, but we could not fix it. We did not check. We did not even know that the biggest academy had a library running in the basement. And yes, we kept on giving the NOC.
Today the LG. I'll get to the political justification that the AAP gives, and you must have seen that Saurabh Bharadwaj saying and putting out on Twitter that he had a meeting on the 28th of June. None of the bureaucrats came, and the ones who came refused to take orders. No, that's not my question. My question, he's put out the video. You can challenge the evidence of that video. My question to you is, LG Saab went to Old Rajinder Nagar today. He was shouted at by the students there. He was heckled by the students there. It's not like they have. It's not like they think he is absolved of all responsibility.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
I also went there yesterday, and of course I did not. I just wanted to speak to some students and understand what the demands were. So I don't blame the students. Do you know they're young people. They totally, and they should be angry. And I think all of us are responsible. It is so shameful. It could have been Zaka, your younger brother, my nephew. It could have been anybody. So it is obviously a matter to be extremely ashamed of for each one of us. Me, you, all of us. But I'm saying there are responsibilities. It's one thing to play politics, you know. It's one thing to say BJP. We can say, you know, Aam Aadmi Party can say, oh, we just came into power 1.5 years ago. Before that, it was BJP. BJP can say, Congress Party was in power before that. Congress can say, you know, before us, the Britishers were in power.
Okay.
And the
cannot
they can
Okay,
say,
no interruptions, please. No interruptions, please. I'm going one by one. I'm going one by one.
Yeah, I'm going and let me finish. I want to close this. And the Britishers can say, oh, but before us the Mughals were there. But the fact of the matter is that there is an MCD councillor from Aam Aadmi Party whose job is just that. They were members of RWA who actually wrote letters in the last 1 month talking about water logging. They went and Durgesh Pathak received those complaints. There was his cognizance of them, their signatures of that man, but he did nothing about him.
Okay, I want to go to Suhail Seth. One second, please. I want to go to Suhail Seth. Suhail Seth, we've been watching, and every time it rains, I know you live in Gurgaon, you are, you know, splitting hairs every time it rains. I never thought that it would come to a situation in the national capital. We're not talking about some Jumritulaya at the back of the beyond of this country. We're talking about the national capital in the heart of Delhi. I mean, Parliament is barely a few kilometers away from Old Rajinder Nagar. I know because I've lived there when I first came to this city. I too tried to build my life and my career from those very same localities. Point is, 3 young kids drown in drain water because the stormwater drain outside their IAS coaching center was not cleared. And the MCD commissioner today comes out and says, oh, this should have been done earlier. We didn't do it. Now we'll do it. This is the reason for why the 3 people died. And you know what the most shameless part is? They have not arrested a single MCD official. They have arrested instead a gentleman who was driving past that institute in his Thar, and that water apparently, because of the movement of the car, hits the gate, and that's what the Delhi police FIR says, that was what breached the gate and that is what flooded the basement. What a shame, Suhail Seth. What a shame.
It's actually not a shame. It's a scandalous shame. And what I feel very upset about is both Shubh and Shazia, who I respect, putting up this defense of either party, let me tell you what I feel as a citizen. The Lieutenant Governor should be ashamed. The Aam Aadmi Party should be ashamed. The MCD Commissioner should be hung if that is possible. The IAS officers who Shubh Malhotra says, who's the Chief Secretary, should be expelled, dismissed, suspended. These are all rogues, if you ask me. They have done no service to this country. It is the most heinous form of disservice when you're entrusted with a responsibility as sacred as the one that you have referred to, Zaka. And let me tell you how this will end. None of these people will be arrested. There'll be a flawed investigation. And you see how they treat people? They've arrested the lowest hanging fruit. What is the driver supposed to do? When there are flood waters, what do? Wait in your car or drive? You drive. Now, will you blame the driver for those 3 deaths? Let me tell you where the rot is. The jokers who gave them permission, including the owners of that Rouse Circle, they should be arrested. If they haven't been arrested, arrest them. Arrest the MCD Johnnies who gave permission for such a facility to take place. And let me be honest with you, the students in future must be very careful of the premises that they inhabit or occupy or visit, because these rascals will get away. Now you tell me, Zaka, is it fair only to blame one political party or the other? No. Sab isme mile hue, to quote Arvind Kejriwal, who's incarcerated. What does it tell you about India's democracy? I mean, you have a chief minister who's shameless enough to, while being incarcerated, not to leave his position. You have a poor minister, whoever it was, Saurabh, whatever his name is, he was asking the secretary of the government of Delhi to intervene. The secretary refused. They're disobeying a ministerial order. I mean, it is chaotic. You know, there's an old Bernard Shaw saying, when whales fight, shrimps are eaten. We citizens are the shrimps.
Yep.
Everyone is involved. Everyone has to be held to account. But no one will be held to account. You know, Shubh's point about the LG, if it is true, it needs to be investigated. Shazia's point that, look, the MCD commissioner or the local MLA, they didn't show up. I mean, the mayor comes in for a photo opportunity. This is the country we are living in. And let me tell you, Zaka, if you hadn't brought this up today, or by tomorrow, day after, this will die, as the Pune Porche case is dead.
Yeah.
As so many cases are dead. We are a country that lives from crisis to crisis. And you know what will happen? Nothing. This investigation will yield nothing. And let me tell you, it is also unfair to blame the governments alone. The citizens have to take responsibility. The citizens must not allow, the RWAs must not allow these kind of institutes to come up in the first place. But there is greed overall. There is greed all around. What do? When you're faced with 3 innocent deaths, only then do we start, retrospectively looking at, oh my God, why did this happen? But this has happened before, it will happen again. If you don't take demonstrable deterrent steps, which includes suspending, expelling, no matter who the chief secretary is, throw him out of office, put him in jail if need be. But this nonsense has to stop. You cannot have a country which is run by a bunch of hoodlums who will always escape responsibility by passing the parcel. We're not playing child's games here. 3 children have lost their lives. Someone needs to be held to account.
Dr. Ramachandran, I've got a list of, where and who was at fault. Let's start with the Rouse Study Circle. It's a pretty well-known IAS coaching institute here in Delhi. They had no business to be running a library in the basement. The basement sanctions that were given was for a car park. They had an illegally run library in the basement of their building. What happened once the water started gushing in is that they switched off the electricity because they didn't want anybody to die because of electrocution. But nobody realized that their doors to the library and the entry and exit to the basement were biometric doors. They were controlled by biometrics, and without electricity, biometric doors don't work. So the doors got locked, and it was not until much later that somebody realized and broke open the doors that they actually reached the people who were trapped inside. So that's the failure of the people who were running that establishment. The MCD, and you heard the MCD commissioner, he said it on record, he said it in a soundbite to all the media today. Yes, the drains outside Rouse Study Circle were clogged. It should have been desilted. It was not desilted. He also goes on to say that there were illegal construction on top of those drains. Can you believe it? The drains are not desilted, which is bad in itself, and then there is illegal construction on top of those drains. Building bylaws have been breached, which is a punishable offence. And I want to ask you, Mr. Ramchandran, can any private citizen or private establishment just go about, violating building bylaws without anybody in the MCD either knowing about it or conniving with it, or, as they say, being bribed off for it?
As far as your last statement is concerned, unfortunately, that has become the way things are in our cities, local bodies, so to say. Local governments, compared to the other two levels of governments, should be closer to people so that the local problems are addressed better. Unfortunately, what happens is it's also run on political lines. Now, Zaka, you're absolutely right. Either storage or parking or a utility area. That's what the permission is for.
So how much more?
And luckily, I think this building had the completion certificate, and one of these items could have been done, but not for a library. And for a library or study center, people coming and sitting in large numbers. And as you mentioned, I think it's still to be confirmed, if there was only one single entry or exit, that was a very precarious situation. Rains, unfortunately, I repeat my point. If cities have a proper drainage master plan, and if it is implemented, and if everyone takes note of that, then that's one way of addressing issues. But we are living in a system where excessive rains, we live with the water, we walk through the water, we live with water. But then, in places like this where good number of people assemble, it should have been made clear in case of an emergency what is to be done. Probably when it was raining heavily or water was getting collected, they should not have been there in that basement situation. That's also something which is missing as far as the system is concerned. So I see the point which you're making. Broadly, I think when it comes to governance, we have to have new ways of dealing with things, in the sense that whether it is implementation, whether it is enforcement, or whether it is accountability, we have to have strictly laid down systems. And here it is it's a well-known thing. Desilting is a requirement to be done. Okay. Any number of meetings are taken to make sure this happens. And also there are local officials who are responsible for checking and ensuring that whatever permissions have been given, they are adhered to. It's not violated. If it is violated, either you initiate action or you report to the higher authorities, take action and follow up on that.
No, the executive engineer who gave the clearance for it, or the chief engineer who oversaw it, none of these people have been named in the FIR. The two junior engineers who've been suspended, again, have not been named in the FIR. They've just been suspended by the MCD. And the councillor and the mayor, I've just given out details. I spoke to one of the students who studies in one of the IAS coaching centers there in that area. His name is Kishore Kushwaha. I spoke to him earlier today and I asked him, he had apparently written to the MCD 3 times in the last 3 months. 3 times. Warning about that area. There's also a video that we got from 15th of July. This is much before this terrible tragedy happened over this past weekend. 15th of July, same area, same Rao study circle. Outside it, just look at the water and listen into also what Mr. Kishore is saying. He's again a student from one of those IAS coaching centers, warning about how he had written to the MCD 3 times and no one took him seriously.
मैंने पहली बार 26 जून को उन्हें पीएम पोर्टल पब्लिक ग्रीवियंस पोर्टल के माध्यम से लिखा था, तो उस पर कोई वो नहीं आया, कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई, कोई एक्शन नहीं हुआ। फिर बारिश हुई एक दिन 5 मिनट बहुत तेज़, तो 15th ऑफ जुलाई था उस दिन, तो मैंने उन्हें रिमाइंडर भेजा, फिर भी उस पर कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई। उसके बाद फिर मैंने 22 ऑफ जुलाई को फिर रिमाइंडर भेजा, उस दिन भी बारिश हुई थी, तो उस दिन भी कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई उस पर। फिर ये दुर्घटना हमें देखने को मिली। अगर कहीं कोई थोड़ा भी एक्शन लिया जाता तो ये दुर्घटना टाली जा सकती थी।
So, Shubh Malhotra, you just heard from one of the complainants. He has said that he wrote 3 times to the MCD, first through the PM's portal to the MCD, then reminder letters that were sent 26th of June, 15th of July, 22nd of July. And this terrible tragedy happens over this weekend on the 27th of July. I mean, there's no question of accountability. I mean, are MCDs and local corporations going to be run like this? No accountability to the citizen. Citizen wants 3 times and yet nothing happens. And look at the video from 15th of July. Just look at that video, Suhail said. It forewarns you what could have happened and what eventually did happen on the 27th. It forewarns you.
Yeah, no, I would like to add over here. That these are the kind of officials that do not even listen to the minister.
All of them are absolute scoundrels. All of them. They are all rascals of the highest order. And unless you punish them in a deterrent manner, in a demonstrable manner, nothing will change. Mr. Ramachandran says there should be a SOP, there should be. Of course we know there should be. Why the hell isn't it there? Do you wait for tragedies to happen? As Shazia said, are you going to explain to the dead children's parents? Are you going to explain to the dead children's parents that, we should have had an SOP? We should have had an MCD commissioner? We should have people who don't take bribes? They're all absolute scoundrels. They're a bloody shame to this country. They should be paraded and they should be shamed and they should be locked up. Because if you don't do that, the next time this tragedy happens, people will be even more brazen.
No, I agree with Suhail Seth. The news media, the news cycle will move on to the next story.
I agree with most of all.
The Pune case.
I want to come in. I agree with most
the
of all.
Pooja Khedkar case, and now this Delhi case. It'll be there in the news cycle. It'll be there in primetime debates for about a week. Yeah, Shazia.
No,
Closing comment. Yeah.
Just something small. Yeah, so I agree with most of what Suhail says. And I mean, nothing can be truer than that. You see, this is the truism of our lives here. But when you seek refuge in chaos and generalization, you let the dishonest and the inefficient get away. When you say this is everybody's fault, you go away from responsibility. So you have to fix responsibility. It has to be department-wise, officer-wise. And that is the purpose of this 3-tiered system.
Very right.
That is why there is local government.
Exactly.
That is why the officers and engineers.
I just want to add to that.
That is why the political representatives who should ensure. No. But when you add to that, ma'am,
let me add.
Answer as to what if there was an engineer not working well or taking bribes. What was the local councillor and not local?
What was the chief secretary doing? The engineer reports into the chief secretary. He reports into the chief secretary of the LG.
No, again, this complete political football. No, I'm out of time. I want to wrap this up. Absolutely appalling political football which Delhiites have been witness to for a good almost 10 years now between AAP and BJP. I'm very clear in my mind who's accountable for this. Executive engineer of the MCD who cleared this basement from illegally coming up. Chief engineer who oversaw that. Junior engineers who gave the clearances for the same. Local councillor who's been missing in action for the last 3 days. Delhi mayor went there for a photo op and did precious little else. Local MLA who again went there, gave a few interviews, tic-tacs, and then has been MIA. The LG's office for empowering bureaucrats in a way that they don't turn up for meetings called by ministers. Can you think about that for a second, ladies and gentlemen? The minister of a department is calling for the secretary and secretaries in that department for a meeting. They don't even bother to turn up. Is that allowed? Is that legal? If the CEO of a private company calls the managers and the general managers to come for a meeting and they say, no, we won't turn up, you think that would be brute? So I'm very clear as to where and who should be held accountable for this. Whether or not these people will be held accountable, whether or not there will be some form of justice, some modicum of justice for Shreya, Tanya and for Nevin. I'm a pessimist. I hope I'm proven wrong, but we shall be on this story. I want to move on now to another segment. So the United States has entered the final 100-day stretch right ahead of the presidential elections, and after weeks of disarray in the wake of Joe Biden's disastrous debate performance, his tanking numbers, now After his withdrawal from the presidential race, the Democrats seem to have found a sense of energy and unity after he withdrew and endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the presidential nominee from the Democratic Party. Although Harris is yet to officially clinch the Democratic Party nomination, she does have enough number of delegates who are supporting her. The top guns of the party, whether it is former Presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leadership, dozens of governors, senators, and congressmen and women have given their support to Kamala Harris. Donald Trump, on the other side, is still trying to whip up support amongst his base, particularly after the assassination attempt on his life, after which there was a surge in his ratings. But it is poised on a knife's edge, this fight between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It could go either way. Ultimately, as is the case with every U.S. election, it depends on who wins a large number of the swing states. Joining me now is one of the most influential voices in foreign policy, best-selling author, journalist, and the host of GPS on CNN, Fareed Zakaria. Thank you very much, Fareed, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Back on the 21st of July, when Joe Biden stepped aside from the presidential race, you had tweeted back then saying that history is being made. It's a rare political leader who gives up power. But isn't it also a fact that there was so much pressure mounting on him? He had a disastrous debate performance. His poll numbers against Trump were tanking. A lot of people within the Democratic Party were basically asking him to step aside. So it was almost like fait accompli.
Well, the best way to think about it, Zaka, is to ask yourself, if Donald Trump had been in that position, would he have voluntarily given up power? Remember, the country is still roughly a 50-50 country in exactly the manner you described. Biden still had probably about a 48% chance of winning. Even after the debate performance, Trump's numbers only went up by about 1.5%. Because the country is very evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans. And so what Biden confronted was the fact that his party was rapidly recognizing that he was, he had clearly suffered some cognitive decline over the last few years. As a result, there was a lack of enthusiasm about him. There was pressure on him. But still, I mean, people who take these jobs have enormous egos, and it takes an extraordinary amount of self-discipline and sacrifice to say, I'm not going to take the chance that I could win, and I'm going to step aside and let somebody who probably has a slightly better chance of me winning. Very few political leaders do that. In American history, you can count them on one hand the number of times presidents have voluntarily relinquished power for whatever reason. So I still think it's something worth lauding. Remember, Donald Trump wasn't willing to cede power when he lost the election. Here's Joe Biden, in a situation where it seemed like maybe he would lose the election, ceding power.
So now Vice President Kamala Harris is the person around whom the party seems to be rallying. She's got endorsements from Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, almost the entire Democratic leadership. But I just want to contrast this with her performance back 4 years ago when she was also one of the persons running to be the Democratic nominee. Her performance was underwhelming. She was in fact forced to end her bid even before the primary voting began. So why would she be any more different now, 4 years hence, against Trump than what she was in 2020?
So in politics, timing matters a great deal. And you're quite right that she was she didn't come across as particularly impressive when she ran the last time. Joe Biden, when he ran in 2008, the time that Barack Obama got the nomination, Biden was one of the first people to have to quit the campaign because his performance wasn't very good. And yet in 2020, he was the man of the moment. So what Kamala Harris has going for her is that she's a stark contrast with Biden. She's young, she's dynamic, she's energetic, she's poised, and she can take the battle to Donald Trump. The key for any Democrat is that the Democratic Party unites against Trump. And can a Democrat be the person who unites the party around against Trump. Kamala Harris is young and she contrasts with Trump's age. She's sharp, she's clear, contrasts with Trump's sort of slightly rambling, sometimes incoherent statements. And because she has a diverse background, she energizes parts of the base of the Democratic Party in a way that very few people do. So, she still has some of the baggage that came the last time, but I think the timing might be good for her this time.
So CNN's put out its latest polls, which seem to suggest that there is a slight improvement ever since she became endorsed by Biden and all the other leading Democrats. But still, she's trailing Trump nationally, Trump at 49, Kamala Harris at 46. And more importantly, in almost all of the swing states, and about half a dozen of them, she's trailing Trump. What does she need to do, including in her choice of who her running mate is going to be? What does she need to do to win those swing states?
So first, she's actually in a slightly better shape than you described. Her, depending on which poll you look at, but the average numbers at this point, you have to take the polls after she became the presumptive nominee, not before, because those were speculative. She's about 2 points behind Trump, which is within the margin of error. She's behind Trump in most of the swing states, as you say, but again, within the margin of error. But that's still behind, you're right. What she has to do, I think, fundamentally is move to the center. Kamala Harris comes from San Francisco. She is a liberal Democrat from the most liberal state in the country. And the country is more in the center. So she has to find a way to, creatively appeal to those people at the center. Because remember, the debate, the election is going to be won on the Electoral College, which is those 4 or 5 swing states. And so in her selection of vice president, in her rhetoric, she can't just do the anti-Trump thing, which is that the first order of business is uniting the party against Trump. But the second order of business is appealing to those moderates in the center. So if she is able to find a way to navigate her way to the center, I think she has, it increases her chances.
I do want to talk to you about, Indian American candidates or even a British Indian candidates and the rise of, ethnically Indian folks, whether it is in Western democracies like America or Britain. We had Rishi Sunak, the first Asian to become a British Prime Minister. Kamala Harris, depending on which way this election goes in November, could become the first Indian American, first African American, first woman, and first woman of color to become president. Are these mere tokenisms? Because the Republicans, certainly a lot of them, are calling her the DEI candidate, diversity, equality, and inclusion. Is she there because of an ethnicity box needs to be ticked, or is she there purely on merit? The case that they're also making against her is she didn't win the primaries. Biden won.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. Think about Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak did not win an election as the leader of the Conservative Party. If you remember, Boris Johnson won that election and then was ousted out of office, and they chose Theresa May, and then they chose Liz Truss, and then they chose Rishi Sunak. So it's not as though there was a general acclamation by the British public for him. In Kamala Harris's case, I think her base is much stronger. Yes, Biden didn't win the nomination, but after that, very quickly, every element of the Democratic Party has supported her. And now, of course, she has to win the election. Is she a DEI candidate? Look, another way of putting this is American politics has long been made up of appeals to people because of their ethnicity, their backgrounds, whatever you may call it. Well, one of the reasons you had white Protestants running for president and winning for so many years was they were the dominant ethnic group in the United States. One of the great, pluses that Barack Obama brought to the table was that he did galvanize minorities and the minority base of the Democratic Party in a way that very few other people did. So what one person might call DEI another person would call that's just politics. You don't call it DEI when somebody in India makes an alliance with a Dalit leader because they want the Dalit votes. That's that's politics, and you appeal to people at different levels. So I do think you can get around the fact that her ethnicity matters, but is she qualified? Look, I mean, this is a woman who was the chief public prosecutor of San Francisco, one of the world's great cities, twice. She was attorney general of California, which is the sixth largest economy in the world. She was then senator from California. She then was vice president for 3.5 years. What does it mean to be qualified? On paper, that's more qualifications than many, many people who have become president of the United States have. Remember, Barack Obama was a state senator from Illinois, then served for 2 years in the U.S. Senate. She's certainly on paper more qualified than Obama.
So let me ask you. So between now and November, what are the biggest issues that matter to ordinary Americans? Because if you believe the Democrats, and you've already seen in the campaign stump speeches that Harris has made, she believes that abortion is front and center of this election campaign, much like the 22 midterms were. On the other side, the Republicans are saying it's all about immigration, 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 and they're even attacking her record, calling her the border czar and failing in it. What do you think would be the number one issue for Americans going into November?
So you put it very well, Zaka, but think about what you said. To me, the most interesting thing is the absence of the economy as a major issue. As I write in my book, The Age of Revolutions, we have entered a very unusual revolutionary period in politics in much of the world, and certainly almost all of the Western world. Economics, which used to dominate the election debate, it's the economy, stupid, is what Bill Clinton's campaign manager put as his campaign slogan in his headquarters. That is not the galvanizing issue right now. And that's for a whole bunch of reasons that I talk about in my book. What has happened is you've seen the rise of cultural politics. And the great cultural issues right now for the left are abortion, and for the right are surrounding immigration. And in a way, it's the battle of these two issues. Which one galvanizes more people? For the left, abortion has galvanized them because it is a feeling that the right wants to take away women's rights and reproductive freedoms. On the right, the issue is immigration because it really is about the issue of the kind of changing demographic character of the United States and things like that. It's impossible to tell which will win out in the end, but I think one of the reasons Harris is probably stressing the abortion issue is the polling suggests that, again, we're down to these swing states. And it's not just the swing states, we're down to the swing counties within those states. Because take a state like Pennsylvania. The cities, the major cities in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia chief among them, are always Democratic. The rural areas in Pennsylvania are always Republican. So what's going to matter? It's what we call the exurbs, those areas around the major cities. And who in those exurbs matters? Who are the swing voters? They tend to be working women. So the appeal is actually quite strategically targeted, the abortion issue, toward those working women who might find that a galvanizing issue.
I do want to ask you about your thoughts about what the eventual president, the next president of the United States, whether it's Trump or whether it's Harris, what may it mean for India-US ties? For the last 20, 25 years, there's been broad consensus, whether a Democrat is in the White House or a Republican is in the White House, US-India ties have been given a reasonable pride of place, if you will. In that context, who would be a better president for better US-India ties, Trump or Harris?
I think you put it well, Zaka. The truth is the United States has made a kind of strategic decision to improve relations with India. After the Cold War, you saw that shift right with Bill Clinton, with his very successful visit to India. George W. Bush is really the great transformation because he did the nuclear deal, which got rid of the thorn that was the impediment in U.S.-India relations. And I think Manmohan Singh and Bush deserve enormous credit for that. Obama then expands that with really the beginning of the pivot to Asia and the idea of not just talking about it as Asia, but as the Indo-Pacific. Trump deepened that tie and had perhaps some kind of good personal chemistry with Modi. So I think whoever is president, you will see a continuation of those forces. And I think that, there might be atmospherics one way or the other. You can imagine Trump, with his personal relationship with Modi, being able to do well. But of course, there is also the X factor of if Kamala Harris wins. This is really a landmark in the sense of an Indian American. I mean, she's, her mother was Indian, but she was raised by her mother. She knows how to cook dosas. She can speak a little bit of an Indian language. That's all, that could be certainly at a kind of emotional level, transformative.
माई भाई मैंने भी इस बार SIP करके म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसे डाले तो मुझे ये जानना था कि KYC का चक्कर क्या है।
म्यूचुअल फंड सही है .com या अपने म्यूचुअल फंड की वेबसाइट पे जाओ, पैन नंबर डालो और सिर्फ इतना देखो कि तुम्हारा KYC स्टेटस रजिस्टर्ड है या वैलिडेटेड।
रजिस्टर्ड हो तो
आधार और पैन कार्ड के साथ अपना KYC वैलिडेट करो, जरूरी है और ज्यादा वक्त भी नहीं लगता।
और वैलिडेटेड हो तो
सही है।
सही है माई भाई, अब तक इन्वेस्ट किया ना हो तो
KYC कर लो और मैदान में उतरो।
सही है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया की टीम एक्सक्लूसिव तौर पे पहुंची है राव कोचिंग सेंटर के अंदर, जहां यह पूरा का पूरा हादसा हुआ है। हम आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखाने जा रहे हैं। सीढ़ियों से पहले देखिए, सीढ़ियों पे आपको बर्बादी की तस्वीर दिख रही होगी, जिस तरह से ऊपर से पानी यहाँ पहुँचा है। हम इधर लाइट इधर दिखाइए, इधर कैमरे को ले जा रही है। देखिए अभी भी यहाँ पानी है। ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट है, दो तरफ सीढ़ियाँ थी लेकिन बंद भी थी बायोमेट्रिक गेट की, बायोमेट्रिक लॉक होने की वजह से। ये दरवाज़ा आपको दिख रहा होगा, हम अपने सहयोगी से कहेंगे वो यहाँ इधर दिखाएं तस्वीरें, और लाइट के जरिए, अंधेरा है हम आपको दिखा नहीं सकते। और ये पानी अभी भी देखिए, अभी भी पानी लगा हुआ है। न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया आपको तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं, अभी भी पानी लगा हुआ है। और अंदर आपको लाइब्रेरी में बैठने की जगह जो है, ये जो गेट है बायोमेट्रिक गेट है, जो आपको न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया पे थोड़ा कम दिख रहा होगा। लाइट नहीं है हमारे पास, लेकिन हम यहाँ पहुँचे हैं बहुत मुश्किल से, और आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखा रही है। देखिए पानी निकासी का काम अभी भी जारी है। और इधर देखिए बर्बादी की तस्वीर, लाइब्रेरी अंदर चल रहा था, स्टोरेज की परमिशन मिली थी, लेकिन लाइब्रेरी अंदर चल रहा था। लेकिन न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया की टीम आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखा रहा है जो एक्सक्लूसिव है। इधर थोड़ा लाइट और आगे, ये देखिए, ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट है, और ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट भी कंट्रोल था इसका, जो हमें जानकारी अब तक मिली है। अभी तो जांच का विषय है, लेकिन आप तस्वीरें देखिए, यहाँ तक पानी भर गया था। ऊपर देखिए, हम अपने ये देखिए पानी टपक रहा है, ये पूरा का पूरा पानी भर गया था। एनडीआरएफ की टीम आई, बाद में यहाँ के जो फायर सर्विस एमसीडी के लोग आए और उन्होंने पानी निकालने का काम शुरू किया। ये देखिए अभी भी पानी लगा हुआ है।
Did you meet the police? What are they telling you? What is the process, that you have come to collect the Nevin's bodies? What is?
Yeah. Yesterday I met the Rajinder Nagar police station. So they explained how the tragedy happened yesterday, right? So we understood it's a real tragedy. Okay, we understood, and they have collected my chechi and cousins that authorization letter along with my ID card, right? So today morning they will come tentatively 10 o'clock to the.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree. One tree for humanity. One tree for Mother Earth. One tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
And they will start the postmortem morning itself. So we are expecting Navin body by around 1 o'clock. So we are going to hometown after that.
What is the demand of the family right now?
So there is no demand at all. I would say it's a request. There is no demand. I would say it's a request. So first is that why these kind of things allowed in our capital? Okay, that's thing. Okay. So that also reputed institution. IAS, it's a reputed course, no.
Yes.
How they allowed this? It's not a chota mota institution or unorganized. It's an organized institution. How they are allowing this? That is the first question. So we have to take a remedial on this. Second is, as I earlier told, no. We have to identify how many institutions we are running in pan-India across, not only Delhi. If at all any like institution like this, students know, we have to alert them and they have to uplift the institution. We should not have this kind of tragedy in future.
न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया की टीम एक्सक्लूसिव तौर पे पहुंची है राव कोचिंग सेंटर के अंदर, जहां ये पूरा का पूरा हादसा हुआ है। हम आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखाने जा रहे हैं। सीढ़ियों से पहले देखिए, सीढ़ियों पे आपको बर्बादी की तस्वीर दिख रही होगी, जिस तरह से ऊपर से पानी यहाँ पहुँचा है। हम इधर लाइट इधर दिखाइए, इधर कैमरे को ले जा रही है। देखिए अभी भी यहाँ पानी है। ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट है, दो तरफ सीढ़ियाँ थी लेकिन बंद भी थी बायोमेट्रिक गेट की, बायोमेट्रिक लॉक होने की वजह से। ये दरवाज़ा आपको दिख रहा होगा। हम अपने सहयोगी से कहेंगे वो यहाँ इधर दिखाएं तस्वीरें, और लाइट के जरिए, अंधेरा है हम आपको दिखा नहीं सकते। और ये पानी अभी भी देखिए, अभी भी पानी लगा हुआ है। न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया आपको तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं, अभी भी पानी लगा हुआ है। और अंदर आपको लाइब्रेरी में बैठने की जगह जो है, ये जो गेट है बायोमेट्रिक गेट है, जो आपको न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया पे थोड़ा कम दिख रहा होगा। लाइट नहीं है हमारे पास, लेकिन हम यहाँ पहुँचे हैं बहुत मुश्किल से और आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखा रही है। देखिए पानी निकासी का काम अभी भी जारी है। और इधर देखिए बर्बादी की तस्वीर। लाइब्रेरी अंदर चल रहा था, स्टोरेज की परमिशन मिली थी, लेकिन लाइब्रेरी अंदर चल रहा था। लेकिन न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया की टीम आपको वो तस्वीरें दिखा रहा है जो एक्सक्लूसिव है। इधर थोड़ा लाइट और आगे, ये देखिए, ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट है। और ये बायोमेट्रिक गेट भी कंट्रोल था इसका, जो हमें जानकारी अब तक मिली है। अभी तो जांच का विषय है, लेकिन आप
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We begin with West Asia. No peace deal in sight between Israel and Hamas, but a new war is on the horizon between Israel and Hezbollah. There was a rocket attack on Saturday that killed 12 children. Israel has vowed retaliation, plus Turkey has threatened to join the fighting. So will the war spread? Does Netanyahu